we're already playing an away game against a group of 5 every other year. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but we play Georgia Tech in Atlanta. I mean,
oh my gosh. Welcome to My God a Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I are joined by the DawgFather of TikTok fame. We talk about how he got started on TikTok, how he became a Georgia fan, the national championship, and much more. And we answer questions from you, our listeners. Be sure to go follow the DawgFather at _dog_father on TikTok and Twitter. And you can follow us on social media at My God a Podcast. Lastly, we'd love for all of you to come join us at Dawg Central. That's DAWGS Central.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. Yeah, Munson's here. He just laid down, so he is now sitting at my lap or at my feet.
Bailey, Champ Bailey, ironically, is underneath my feet for this episode. He really wanted to hear what you had to say, DawgFather.
I was going to say, we must really have all dog names. I've got Jasper down here. I guess we can say that's after Jasper Sanks. I don't know.
Yeah. We all have our dog. We all have our dog names.
I feel like this is obligatory reminder that Jasper was down, so we can continue.
Jasper is indeed down.
What was the referee's name? Al. What is his name? I can't remember. Still drives me crazy. What was that? The referee's name, Al. I cannot remember what his last name was in that game. It still drives me nuts thinking about it.
Al Ford.
Yes. There you go.
He was he didn't leave for a while. So when he retired, he came back as a replay official.
That's right.
For a while. So I would always get worried when they would announce, you're looking at who are the officials for the game, and when it'd be and the replay official is Al Ford. I'm like, oh no, this is not going to be this one up. Yeah. But yeah, so I'll briefly pause. Because we've got an extra voice on here. The DawgFather of TikTok fame. We kind of actually, John, I think, reached out to you on TikTok last week after one of your posts. It was like, hey, we're on the podcast, and so we've been chatting ever since. We both obviously already followed you and love your work. So thanks for agreeing to come on My God a Podcast.
Oh, my pleasure. When John reached out, I was like, is this really My God a Podcast? Like, I'm going to be on here with these guys? Because I'm like, hey, this is the podcast for dog fans. Like, hey, let's do it.
We were wondering, is he even going to give us the time of day?
Oh, of course.
in between getting melted with your notifications on all those likes and posts and comments that you have on your videos. Your videos are just so great, man. Just a tip of the cap to you for capturing a medium that I myself took forever to figure out, and I'm pretty sure Jim still has no idea what the heck what's going on at TikTok. Matter of fact, if Jim is transparent, we actually created a TikTok when we got you on.
Yeah, so the podcast did not have a TikTok account at all, and then when John had reached out to you and we were starting to kind of talk a little bit, John was like, "Do we need a TikTok? I think we might need a TikTok." So we do have one now. All it has done to date is actually reshare your TikToks.
Yeah.
It's the only content to come from My God a Podcast TikTok account thus far. We'll have to figure out how to use it. Maybe you can give us some ideas.
Yeah, we'll try to do that. I appreciate the kind words. It was fairly easy to catch on, but we'll get into that here in just a second.
Yeah, I was into Vine before, which was a bit of a precursor, I guess. But more at least what I was interested on that app was with the when people would make things loop and it would do a nice perfect loop, which I see some of that on TikTok sometimes, usually with cooking videos is what I tend to see people do that with. But yeah, I was a big fan of that. I was more of I guess similar to how I use TikTok. in the message board world, we used to call someone like a lurker, who kind of reads the message board but doesn't so much post on it. And that's kind of what I do with TikTok. Honestly, I feel like I have found content that I enjoy, but I have not been bold enough to really create any yet. So definitely, I think it's very impressive.
I appreciate it. And going back to Vine, I think it was the original, TikTok before there was TikTok, the 7-second videos, which TikTok kind of wants you to do that because honestly, with the users that they have on there as a younger age, the attention span kind of gets short. So the shorter you can keep them and keep somebody's attention in that time frame, the better off you're going to do.
I see, John, I feel like this is why this is not a good medium for us because
I know, right? you can't keep it shorter. Like I've noticed that like Instagram on the Reels side of things, like it's kind of the same. At least it feels like Instagram is starting to become more and more like TikTok, where a lot of the same features and things like that. And so the Reels, like they want you to have them really, really short. It seems like that's definitely not our gig.
Not our forte. Brevity is not our strong suit.
Sorry, wise dog.
And it's wild, there's a few content creators, and I've been blessed to get this. They've given me the option to do 3-minute videos, but trying to find that kind of content to keep somebody's attention for that long is really difficult unless you just, really are honing in on one specific subject. And of course, that helps me when Georgia season comes around with all the followers I have. It gives me a good platform to do what I need to do.
Right. So were you on Vine or I mean, I don't know. Did you do Vines or did you get to start more with TikTok?
My kids were more on Vine than I was, and I sat there and watched them do their thing. I was out of the Vine thing. Even though I enjoyed it, I never did make any content with that.
Gotcha. Okay. So you really got into it with TikTok then?
Yeah. There's no doubt about it.
What was it that like just did you wake up one morning and were like, well, what's this TikTok? Like, how did you even like get started on it?
Well, my wife actually downloaded the app first, and it was one of those things where we would, start watching TikTok, and we'd just be laying around before we go to bed, and we would get in what we call a TikTok hole, and we would start at, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and midnight, we're still watching this stuff, so you just get into, some of this funny content or sports content or whatever it may be, and you just, before you know it, you're hooked. As far as watching content, but that's how it started. The wife downloaded it, and we were hooked.
So, at what point did you become the test dummy? Like, was your wife like, here, let me video you?
I don't know if she would say test dummy. I think she would just call me dummy. But what happened? One evening, she went to one of her friends' house just to hang out on a Friday. And I was at the house, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a couple of videos just to see how this thing goes. And I've sent you guys the first video I did, and it was a comedian by the name of Donnie Baker. It's just a voiceover of one of Donnie Baker's videos. And I sat outside, and I did one take, and my lip sync was horrible. It was absolutely garbage. But I posted it, and it took about, 15, 20 minutes. My notifications started going off, and they just would not stop. I mean, it just kept going and kept going. I texted my wife. I was like, either I messed up or this thing's doing really well. I didn't know which one it was to start with. But that video that I used, I believe that was the first one I got that went over 1 million views.
Wow.
And I can't remember how many likes that one got. I want to say maybe 200, 300,000 likes, something like that. But once that video did what it did, I was like, I have found my niche. I've got to keep doing this now.
That's awesome.
But so that was how long, like, I'm thinking like trial and error or whatever. Do you know like how many videos you had posted until that one happened? Like that was like your 10th video, 100th video, whatever. Or TikTok,
I would say that was probably somewhere around video number 5 or 10. I don't know. The first ones I kind of played around with a couple of short sounds from either TV shows or movies, and they didn't do anything. But I don't know what I don't know what happened with that video that made it take off, but it did. And like I say, it got in my blood at that point, and it was just go time.
I want to say I think one of the first ones that I saw of yours, I think at the time I had no idea like who you were. So I think I was just in the algorithm or whatever, was the video of you asking your wife if she wanted breakfast or whatever. And then you pulled out the Lysol bleach spray or whatever at the end.
That was
we'll have
actually,
to link out to that one because that was so funny.
I appreciate it. That actually has been I don't know if you'd say viral, but that one actually generated, I uploaded it twice. That one generated over 13 million views.
Jeez.
It was,
yeah,
it went absolutely crazy. And the weird thing was I saw celebrities start using that afterwards. I cannot remember who the musician was that used it, but somebody tagged me in it and said, have you seen so-and-so using this sound? They're blowing up and they're not giving you any credit. And I was like, well, it's a voiceover. I didn't actually say it. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and badmouth a guy for doing that.
Let's just say your lip syncing became better as you've moved on. And then when I finally realized that you were a Georgia fan, I was like, oh my gosh, I found Georgia TikTok.
Well, like I say, that first when I talked about the Donnie Baker video, my lip sync was so bad, and I go back and look at it, and I was like, what were you thinking even uploading this? I should have made at least 3 or 4 more takes before even thinking about uploading that. But it has gotten a little bit better. I'm not going to say it's the best. There are some other creators that are just outstanding at what they do, and I try to, kind of emulate them a little bit, and I've made a lot of friends doing that way too. So we just it's trial and error and practice. Just keep doing what we do.
So take us back before you became this viral content creator on TikTok, the DawgFather of TikTok. What's your dog story? Like how are you connected to UGA, and like what's kind of your background in that?
Yeah, I first started going to University of Georgia games with my aunt and uncle, and they are UGA grads. I don't know, I would say about 10, 12 years old, and they took me to my first game. It was, like I say, my aunt and uncle who were down from Vienna, Georgia. I don't know if you know where Vienna is, but way down South Georgia, right outside of Cordell. And their daughter, who was, of course, my first cousin, we would go up and I remember the first time going, we got out in the parking lot and you open the door. And when I say the smell of Athens, you guys know what I'm saying. You get out, it's almost like a brewery at 9 o'clock in the morning. And the tailgate smells.
Smell of Athens. Yeah.
The tailgate smells, all of it. It just like, I was hooked. Then the first walk to the bookstore and going to the stadium and seeing it was just like, I mean, I'm a dog, I'm here.
Yeah.
And you were hooked.
Absolutely.
I think most of us can relate to that. Do you remember who the opponent was? These are. I know that's not always easy to remember.
I want to say it was Ole Miss, but to quote that at 100%, there is no way I can say that. But I'm almost sure that's who it was that day.
I'm wondering if it was my same first game, because my first game was Ole Miss.
But we sat.
How long ago was that?
Let's see, 85. I'm thinking somewhere around in there.
Around 85.
Somewhere around in there.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been because mine. Yeah, that's how I am. I know I went to an Ole Miss game when in the 80s. I was probably, I think mine might have been 80. Here's the other thing that I'm trying to remember on, like, you used to have like the even odd year rotation kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I actually don't remember. I'm trying to think. We played Ole Miss at home on even years, I think. So, So, I mean, I think like 80, 86, 88. I've got it written down somewhere. But even though my writing it down is a guess too, I don't really
You know,
I
and
don't have like the tickets and that kind of stuff.
and it could have been one of those years, if I remember. I think it was either James Jackson or Wayne Johnson who was a quarterback, so that would probably put it right around that time.
Yeah. See now, I couldn't even tell you who was the quarterback when I went. My first game, the only thing that I remember, just being a kid was like, I remember more about, because I remember we were like visiting a friend's family or something. So I remember seeing them before the game. And then like, I remember, I think like there wasn't like a net behind the field goal back then, I don't think.
That's
and so
right.
I remember like when someone kicked an extra point or a field goal, I don't know what it was. And we were in the end zone. And so I remember like someone caught the ball, and it was my first ever game. And so I was thinking like baseball game, right? Like, ooh, they get to get a souvenir, but you have to get back. I just remember being like super confused that they had to get the football back.
Can you just imagine little Jim just running, taking that football and running off?
If I taken my football, I'll earn this.
Yeah, I totally. Yeah, if I had caught it, I totally would have been like, "What do you mean I have to get back?" I would have.
But yeah, I remember that as well. Like down in the lower section, we sat actually up in the upper level. I think it was 320, where the section we were in, but right below us, probably right there.
Yeah. So with that's I mean that's cool. I mean that's generally like family friends is, I think, a lot of people's story. I mean that's it for me too. I mean I got it from my dad. I was wondering, I know like as far as like handle changes, I guess you would say, like, was the DawgFather always your moniker on TikTok, or was it something else and then you changed it?
No, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I was actually going through some old videos today and yesterday, and my first handle name was DawgFan 1991, and
Nice.
I used that forever. And that was my high school graduation year. That was the only reason for even using that number. But I don't even know why I decided to change my TikTok name. I want to say that I probably did some Godfather type videos. I was like, that kind of goes with it, so I changed it to the DawgFather, and been doing that ever since. Yeah, thanks.
It's a great handle.
I mean, nothing against DawgFan 1991, but I do like the DawgFather.
It just fits.
So when you go to tailgates, do you introduce yourself as the DawgFather?
I don't. Last year was really the first time that I had been using that name, that a couple of people would stop me and be like, "Hey, are you that TikTok guy? I think I've seen you on TikTok. Are you that TikTok guy?" And I'm like, yeah. But it's never really been at tailgates. It's been inside Sanford is when most people would say something to me, and it's been awesome. I never expected to get to that, but my wife kind of gives me the side eye, like, did they really just say that to you? Like,
oh my gosh! At what point was your wife like, okay, this is like a real thing now? Like this is legit, because we'll go to the tailgates and stuff, and like I brought my kids one time, and I think Greg was telling my kids like, your dad's famous. I'm like, yeah, we have a podcast, it's fun. Like my kids were super like impressed that anybody even knew who we were, but like you're like legit famous.
This is much a totally different level. My kids hate it. Like they roll their eyes and get mad. But it's the same. It's like the same thing as like Greg's tailgate, and we were talking to somebody, which my dad gets more recognized, at those things than I do, and they're like, "Oh God, Poppy! Everyone knows who Poppy is, and everyone like wants to talk to Poppy." It's pretty funny. But anyways, go on. Sorry.
No, she's sitting beside me now. She's still giving me the side eye right now. But
hello, Mrs. DawgFather.
Hello, Mrs. DawgFather. But I don't know. Y'all tease her every now and then. I'm like, you understand that you're married to a famous guy, right? I still get it like her. But I don't know. It's fun. She understands it. I'll make videos that kind of poke fun at her, poke fun at me. It's just one of those things.
That's so awesome. Does she actually like have TikTok, or does she get involved at all, or?
She has it. She doesn't post content. Now, she has been in a few videos with me that we've done. I think the best one we've probably done together was a Bull Durham scene. The shower scene. I'm sure you guys have seen that. I'll post that later on. But I think I played the manager, and she played Larry, who was the assistant coach or whatever. But we had a lot of fun with that one.
That's awesome. Couples that TikTok together stay together.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So you're 5. So you're 5 years old. You get hooked on Georgia. Now, fast forward, like where did the passion come from? Like, at what point were you like, this is the team for life? You know, you're there for every game. Like, did you go to Georgia? Like, what's the fast forward a little bit?
Right. That's an interesting question. When I spoke about a while ago when I first started going to games with my aunt and uncle, and they had their daughter, and she actually attended Georgia. And I remember it was back in, it was 91 or 92 when we played Clemson at home, and it was just an electric atmosphere. And she invited me to go with her to sit in the student section. And I was not at Georgia then or whatever. I was, like I told you, I was too dumb to get into Georgia at the time. But when I sat with her and I saw the student section, how they reacted to every big play and how the alumni was, that's probably when the fire lit. And I was in it at that point, and still will be until the day they put me in the ground.
Yeah. We're we're obviously partial to Munson. I was mentioning I got the Munson named dog, or dog named Munson. I don't know, like, were you ever like a radio guy, like a listen on the radio at all?
Yeah. Now I didn't, when you go to games, you see when I was younger, I'd see the older crowd with the headphones listening to Munson and Howard or whatever. And I was like, what are they doing, man? But it's crazy. Once you get a little bit older, it's like, man, I want to hear Larry, because, who doesn't want to hear Larry Munson call the game? I mean, he was one of a kind.
Yeah.
I could just imagine now what it would have sounded like last year when Keely Ringo picked that off, and just kind of replay in your mind what it would be like. That would have been an amazing moment.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. We've talked about that before, about how Scott was not in his best form on that game.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't said that he had COVID, but he was sick. He had a cold at best. He was not, he was not being in his best form, like, full disclosure, I think, because he was sick.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
And I think, unfortunately, it kind of showed,
I think he was sick along with literally everybody else there. I heard everybody I knew that came back or was going or whatever, like it was like everybody got COVID after that.
Yeah, everybody came home with something.
Yeah, we listened to the playback when we got home, and I felt so sorry for Scott, because you could tell he just was not feeling his best. And you mentioning people coming back with it. I don't think the wife or I ever had COVID when we got back, but we were feeling pretty down when we got back. And it could have been the extreme cold up there coming back, and it being a little bit warmer here, even though it was still cold down here. But just the extreme drop in temperature. I don't know. I'm not a doctor or meteorologist, none of that stuff. So.
Yeah, no, I was exactly the same. Like, when I got home, I was sick. I tested negative. Like, I didn't have COVID, but I had something. Same. I mean, a quick question on your opinion, since you also went, like, should the national championship ever be played in Indianapolis again?
I didn't have a problem with it being up there. Of course, for those of us that were there, we know what the weather situation was like. But honestly, Indianapolis did a really good job, as far as I'm concerned, as far as putting the game on, everything surrounding it, the fan fest. The restaurants around were awesome, in my opinion. I wouldn't mind it. Now, would I prefer it to be in a little bit warmer climate? Absolutely. But I did not mind Indianapolis at all.
Okay. Yeah, I think you probably ventured out and maybe did more than I did. I was a wimp, and we were so cold. Did you tailgate or anything before? Because I know I've seen some pictures and videos and stuff that you had posted. Were you like out and about on the day of?
We didn't tailgate much. We when we got up there, we pretty much hung out at the Fan Fest area. My brother-in-law and his wife were up there, and we hung out with them there, and some other friends from around the area. We met them up there and kind of hung out with them for a little while. Some friends from Twitter who you guys know very well who post on there a lot. But as far as tailgating, we didn't have a setup or anything around the area. Just pretty much stayed at the Fan Fest or in a restaurant, because venturing out in that, I probably would have lost some fingers and toes to frostbite if we had tried that.
Yeah, we attempted some outside stuff, and we were just like, forget this.
Yeah,
I think we just went to the stadium. Am I making this up? Because I think I saw something of you with Bobby Wilson. Am I making that up, or did I say that?
Absolutely, yeah. We saw Bobby. Okay. We saw Bobby prior to actually going to the game, and we were at a little little bar that we thought was right by the stadium, but we were actually by the Pacers stadium. So we thought we were right there ready to go in, but oh no, we were probably a mile and a half away, I guess. So we had a little walk after staying at that bar and starting to feel really good. We still had a little walk ahead of us.
That's great. So you did a trek from the Pacers Stadium to Lucas Oil with Bobby Wilson.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Bobby was pretty much our guide. So wherever Bobby went, we were following him.
That's awesome. Yeah. Who did you actually go specifically with Bobby, or did you guys like meet up, or who recognized who? Like, what was the connection there?
No, again, it was just me and my wife there. Like I say, one of these little bars, and when I stepped outside, there was Bobby, and I just struck up a conversation with him because I've met him a couple of times before, and we were like,
got it.
Trying to find out where this place was, and I think he might have been the first one to say, kind of point the direction, and I looked at the wife, I was like, we're following Bobby. Let's go wherever he goes.
Smart man.
Man, that's too funny. So I was with Bobby the night before. We went out to a bar with Bobby on Sunday night. My dad and I had met up with them. That's hilarious, man. See, I could have met you in person on Monday if we had gone to where Bobby was. Dang
it! And we still may have seen each other and had no idea.
It's possible. It's possible.
Just two titans of dog social media, just hanging out with each other at Lucas Oil.
Yeah, and to be clear, that's the DawgFather and Bobby Wilson, by the way. That's what we're talking about.
And I don't know, Jim, if you remember pulling in. I don't know if you went by the U.S. mail postal place had all the mail carriers out there. Did you notice that place when you came in?
I had another, if you're saying that it was like an omen of like mailman type stuff.
Yes.
I didn't see that. But I had a different one, but I want to hear yours.
Well, we went by it and I saw all those out there. And of course I'm looking at my wife. She's looking at me. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be good. But where it really got me, we went to a bar that Sunday and I cannot remember the name of it. But as we were getting ready to leave, there was no cars or anything out front. It was kind of wild because you know how packed it was up there. But right as we walked out of the door, here comes this U.S. mail truck and parks right in front of the restaurant. And I'm like, wow, this is a complete sign. Whenever I saw that pull up there, I was like, this is going to happen.
Yeah, we kept all like having John and I are in a text thread with a bunch of people, and we were like giving pointing out omens like that whole like week basically. And I had a similar. Mine was like the day of the game where my dad and I went to get lunch, which was right by our hotel, not even like inside the perimeter, really right outside the perimeter of Indianapolis. And like we were walking up to the restaurant and, a mailman pulled up in his mail truck, hopped out, and was delivering the mail to the bar. And we were just like, we're like staring at the mailman guy. And, and we were, and like he like looked at us like, what the heck are you looking at? It was pretty funny.
It's just all the omens.
Yeah, they don't know it like we do. I mean, it's the mailman delivereth.
Yeah. What other than the national championship, what are you what's your top UGA moment, like top dog memory that you have?
I've got a couple. The top one of all time is probably the hobnail boot game. Yeah, I can vividly remember when Flip picked that ball off against Casey Clausen, and we were still up. We thought we had it won, and all we did was go 3 and out, had to punt back to him, and that's when Davis, ran the screen pass back for 75 yards or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing was, most of their fans honestly had left whenever that interception occurred. Then when they get that touchdown, they come running back in. So the best part of that, of course, was Ron catches the P44. And because they've all come running back in, then they go all running back out after that happens. Such a great moment. I loved it up there.
Do you know relatively where you were? Because I was at that game and I was in like upper deck. Like I was upper deck, opposite end zone of wherever Ron caught it. Like I didn't even know who caught the ball until I talked to my dad later.
We were in the upper deck, opposite end, just like that. I remember it being a double letter section like GG or HH or Matter of fact, it was in the opposite corner. Like I know Veron caught it in the middle, but then like the section that was furthest away from the press box, I guess is the best way to put it. Somewhere right up in there.
John, have you ever been to Knoxville, to Neyland?
I have not been to Neyland. I was actually just about to say that my memory of this game was actually with my dad in our living room back home in Peachtree City. And I remember distinctly my dad sitting in his recliner getting all sorts of huffy about the game. he was Munsoning hardcore. He's like, we're probably going to throw an interception here. I can't believe this. and I just remember like when he completed that pass and my dad like shot up out of his recliner and I was on the couch and we both jumped up and we were like, oh my God.
Yeah, I totally I thought I had a the following year when we beat Auburn and Munson didn't know who caught it when it was Michael Johnson and he was like, who caught it, Gibson or Watson? Like that was me with Veron. Like I thought it was Randy McMichael because Randy McMichael had been like incredible that drive, and I wasn't like tuned in enough, to be watching that it was the fullback. I mean, we didn't really know a whole lot about Veron Haynes at that point. That was before he was Veron Haynes, really. Like he was, he was the fullback.
And like you say, I think in that 42 seconds, did Randy McMichael catch at least 3 or 4 passes going down the field? It was he just targeted him the whole way. But
that game was on. It was on like the SEC Rewind or whatever was on SEC Network recently, and something that I had forgotten about, I did not remember, was that Randy was also the one who caught the squib kick. Like, so, it's kind of similar to what Tay Crowder did in the Rose Bowl, kind of probably not quite as impressive as what Tay did, but, he fielded that squib kick to make it much less effective. That was Randy also.
He did, and I had forgotten all about that play. I mean, everybody remembers just the drive with 42 seconds, but I had forgotten that it was an actual squib kick that put us in that good position to be able to do that. So,
but your memory is pretty good, and I love that you called Jermaine Phillips Flip and used his nickname. That's pretty impressive. You got a pretty good memory.
That's one of the few things that I can remember. The person sitting next to me has the better memory. So,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Jermaine is from like my hometown. We went to rival high schools. Not that I know him or anything. he played at Roswell High School. He's a little bit older than me.
That's funny. So, all right. So Hobnail Boot was your favorite Dawg Memory, and like talk to me a little bit about like your college years coming up to the games. Have you always gone to the games? Or are you season ticket holder? Like what's?
Yeah. I've always gone, even after, going as a youngster with my aunt and uncle. We didn't have season tickets after we stopped going with them, but we would just, buy on the secondary market or whatever, just because I want to go to games. But as far as being a season ticket holder, yes, my wife and I are season ticket holders now. We just got in last year. And
perfect timing.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
Some people
may you've gotten in sooner.
Yeah. I know. I feel like we may have been the bad luck charm all those years between not winning natties. So, but honestly, people may look at the schedule this year and they may have good calls to say, well, why would you want season tickets this year with the way the home schedule is? But what I would tell them is with Oklahoma and Texas coming in the next couple of years, the home schedule is probably going to be outstanding.
Yeah.
Depending on how they structure it, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to be sitting here 10 years later and never having gone to Kyle Field.
Yeah, I think we're scheduled to play A&M in 2057 or somewhere around in there.
Yeah. We're trying to put glasses on it.
What I love is it's like, it's finally like about to happen, and then like they're gonna redo all the schedule, for Oklahoma, Texas, and they're what if they like postpone it and we still don't go? We'll see.
Whatever happens, that we're gonna have to play Auburn twice away.
Of course we will, because that's just our luck, right? That's never happened before, so.
That was actually like when I made like a proposed schedule model that I put up on Dawg Central, and I like figured out a way to make sure that Auburn had to play at Georgia twice to get everything to work. That was actually like one of my keys, that this has to happen to make my model work.
One, right? I mean, they've been owing us that for, I can't remember when that double home game for them happened, but yeah, we've been needing that one for several years now.
I've been getting a lot of stuff wrong lately, but I think it was 12 and 13. Because what I want to say is that the second year was the whatever you call it, the prayer at Jordan here. I'm pretty sure that was 13. So like that, that game should have been in Athens.
Which I'll tell you this: you guys, I'm sure, remember who the quarterback was for Auburn for the prayer in Jordan here.
Yep. Yeah, Nick Marshall.
I actually played at little bitty Wilcox County High School way back in the late 80s and graduated with Nick's dad. We played on the same.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, we played on the same football team together. We graduated back in 91. And it's crazy. Nick is probably the best athlete I've ever seen come out down there. One of the best athletes I've ever seen, period. But his dad was a quarterback too. And he could throw it as far as Nick could, but he was so slow. His nickname was Syrup. That's how slow he was.
Nick Marshall's dad's nickname was Syrup.
Yes, it was.
Did not see that one coming.
Yeah, so I guess he got his speed from his mom.
Yeah, I tell you what, his mom was a standout basketball player down there, and I mean, she was legitimate. I know she didn't. Well, I'm not gonna get into why, but she didn't get any offers. But still, one of the best I've ever seen come out down there too. And one thing about Nick, guys, I remember when he was a freshman in high school. The first time I saw him play was actually on the basketball court, and I saw him take a pass right about the foul line and absolutely tomahawk dunk on top of somebody. And it was one of those moments where the whole crowd, usually goes crazy, but honestly, there was like stunned silence for like 3 seconds. Like the whole gym then absolutely just erupted. And I actually emailed Chad Simmons. I'm sure you guys know Chad, who's one of the, recruiting gurus out there.
Yep.
And I was like, Chad, I was like, have you seen this Nick Marshall guy down here in Rochelle? And he told me no. I said, well, you might want to start looking because this guy is legit. And sure enough.
Wow. So you're the guy. You got it all started.
And you can be a scout.
You can be a scout, yeah.
When you see these guys at the high school level, you think you might see somebody that's good, but when you see somebody can do something like Nick can, it was unreal. I had never seen anything like that before, and knew that he was going to be a superstar from that point forward. Now, I hate the way it worked out in Athens because I really wanted to, because he was from my hometown. But
yeah, I was super bummed.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, all I could think of now, though, when you were just saying that, was the TikTok actually that I used to solicit questions from the podcast, where the premise, like at the end, was you're on the phone with Kirby. Like, I feel like maybe you should really do that, and you should inform Kirby about the players that you have discovered. So I don't know.
You know what? I may either start TikToking those or either emailing Kirby directly, like my guy 3-Year Letterman does, as far as game plans go.
Oh,
Just
yes.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
I mean, he's going to have to know that I've got brains for this thing. I'm in tune with all these guys.
So speaking of like TikTok and your connections with UGA, like what's been the coolest interaction that you've had in that platform, or with UGA? Like what's been the coolest interaction you've had that's been a result of your social mediaing?
I don't know if anybody at UGA has actually interacted with me at all, and maybe I could attribute that to Kirby saying you need to be staying off of social media. I don't know if he does that or not. But there have been several players, and I don't know if it'll get in trouble if I mention them, that will either comment or like. But current players have either commented or liked, and of course I appreciate them interacting with me. But I would say the coolest thing outside of that is, I've made some really, really good friends on this app that are big creators that have helped me out. Either through ideas, collaborations, messages, whatever. That's helped me push my platform to a little bit higher level.
That's awesome. Are there other UGA? Like, what are some other UGA handles that we should have the folks check out?
I got asked this ironically the other day, and I can't remember who it was that asked me, but there are a couple of players that do have social media, a TikTok rather. Nazir Stackhouse is really good. He is really.
I was just about to say it was Nazir Stackhouse. Yeah.
He does a great job on his TikTok platform. He actually did one. This may have been last year, or it was either the beginning of camp. I think it might have been the beginning of camp last year, where he kind of gave a behind the scenes. Waking up. Scenes,
yeah.
When you get up, the breakfast they get served, the medical attention they might get, all the way up through practice, and it's just stuff that fans may not get to see a lot. So being able to see that kind of gives us a little bit of behind the scenes what goes on the practice field.
Yeah, those day in the life videos. If you're listening, UGA players, like that kind of content is awesome for fans to just get a sense of, like, some of the behind the scenes of things that we just don't normally get access to, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough with football, right? I mean, like basketball, baseball, basically almost any other sport. Like who these guys look like. I mean, for one thing, the teams are smaller, but there's no face mask. Like that's why I love all the stuff that the UGA social media team does put out. But I do feel like, especially like when the new younger guys are coming in, like it takes you a while, like everyone knows like the Jordan Davis, and like the Stetson Bennett and that kind of stuff. But it takes a while to get to know these kids, So I do always appreciate that and enjoy that stuff to be able to, put a face to the name, honestly, because you don't always get that. I think it's starting to get a little bit better though.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to the official social media. I don't know who runs the social medias on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, but man, do they do a great job for the football team and all the athletic departments. Honestly, just one of the most top notch social media platforms you'll find out there, really.
Yeah, their video production is excellent. Is very good.
Yep.
John, what did you just post? Do I need to click on that?
I just linked you guys. I had your profile up, and I just came across one of the other videos that I remember seeing prior to going up to Clemson, or it was after Clemson, I guess. I'm not sure, but it was about the Clemson tailgate, and I was just like, live look at the Attack the Day tailgate.
Were you up there for that?
I was
just about to ask if you were up there.
Yeah, we went to Clemson this past year, and I know that some of the ATD tailgate guys were up there. We didn't get a chance to hang out with them. I wish we could have.
Okay.
But yeah, man, what a game that was to kickstart the season last year. That's one that'll never be forgotten.
Yeah, that was the first time John and I had been to a game together since. So we were in the same fraternity in college. Like, that's how we met. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that was the first off, that was the first time because I live in North Carolina, John's in Marietta. So it was the first time we had seen each other in years. And I mean, I'm going to say first time we had gone to a game together since college. So to get to do that, because we started this podcast during the COVID year, so neither of us went to any games. And then to have that like right off the bat, yeah, that was cool. Yeah, so we were at that tailgate. We'll have to hook up because there's stuff in the works for Oregon in Atlanta. So I don't know if you're going to go to that, but maybe we can sync up there.
Yeah, we
got to get the DawgFather.
We were lucky enough that we did put in for Oregon tickets through our season ticket package, and we were lucky enough to get them. So we will absolutely be in Atlanta. We'll be up there that Friday. So Saturday morning, we'll be chomping at the bit, ready to see you guys in ATD.
That's awesome. Are your kids partaking in the UGA fandom as well?
Yeah. My stepson is a current UGA student.
Go Dogs.
Yeah. I think he's got 3 or 4 semesters left before he'll graduate there. My son actually
he'll probably protract that out one more. So
I would say if he's anything like me, he kind of stretch it out.
Football season.
I mean, was it Louis Grisard that said it's the best 7 or 8 years of your life? Is that was it?
Yeah.
I like to say that I redshirted because I was there for 5 years.
I was there 4.5 and had to really try. My dad was like, "Are you just hanging around for another season of football?" I was like, "I mean, pretty much. I'm taking ballroom dancing as one of my classes."
Nice.
I took ballroom dancing, and I took a couple capstone marketing classes, and that was basically it. I had 12 hours.
Yeah, I think I had 9 hours. Like I only had 6. I had a whole I call it a mix up. I had a mix up with my advisor. So I like my major program, however, it took like X semesters or whatever. And I entered it too late. And so I think I only had 2 classes, and I took them on Tuesday and Thursday. So I had a 4-day weekend every week. It was pretty amazing. I went to every game, and that was 02. So it was a great season to go to every game, home and away. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
That was why Jim never showed up to chapter.
That's why I totally was MIA at the fraternity. Absolutely. And I didn't live on campus. I lived in my sister's. My sister, she's 5 years older than me, so she was like an adult, living outside of Athens, and I lived in her spare bedroom. I was like a total hermit.
I figured they would have posters up, like MIA last seen on Clayton Street on such and such a date.
Yes, that's basically how it was. I was the old guy.
Speaking of downtown, like when you're in Athens, like what's your go-to? I'm always intrigued by people's answers to these types of questions, but like what's your quintessential tailgate? Or I'm going to Athens, like what's your go-to?
Yeah, anything downtown, you can't go wrong. But as far as tailgating before a game, we're set up right there at the and it leaves my memory right now. The parking deck that's behind Ramsey, there's a parking
The
lot
North
out there
Deck,
that
is
we've
it?
set up.
Or no?
East Campus, is
No,
that
that's
what?
not the North Deck. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
The East Campus deck. That's where we're usually set up. At
East
least
Campus.
this
Yeah, that's
past
what it
year.
is.
But yeah, now I can remember again when we first started going. Like I say, with my aunt and uncle when I was younger, that was North Campus. That part, we could walk up and anything down there. Of course, I was too young to partake in a lot of stuff back then, but but anything on that side of town, downtown was, I mean, you were golden.
Yeah, that's where we like to go. North Campus is where we like to go for tailgating and generally. But over there at Reed Plaza, where Greg and those guys are set up, that's like when I found out. Like I think last year, I don't know if he's going to have the same spot this year, but last year they were literally set up right next to the entrance. I was amazed at the location. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, when he told me that's where it was, like it wasn't like clicking until I got there and I was like next to the gate, and I was like, oh, this is pretty incredible.
Yeah. North Campus is where I go, but like as far as like establishments, like restaurants, like what's your go-to there?
Man, you could name just about anything. You can start out at Little Italy on one end and go all the way down to Mellow Mushroom on the other. Anything in between. I mean, it's tough to name just any one right in there. Last Resort, we do like going there. Their brunch.
That's a tough reservation.
Their brunch on Sunday, and I don't know if they're a sponsor or anything, but if not, hey, y'all come on board. But that brunch is to die for over there. It is excellent.
Yeah, not a sponsor yet.
if you're the proprietor or know the proprietors of Last Resort, we would be happy to accept your sponsorship.
There you go.
Yeah, that Sunday brunch is killer. I haven't had it. We did a week, like a weekend in Athens, App State weekend in 2017, and I know that's where I love that you mentioned Little Italy. That's always my answer. Like
I was just about to say, Jim and I have the same answer on this one. as usual.
Yeah, right. Yeah, par for the course on I Got a Podcast. I always say that any good night in Athens ends at Little Italy. That's always my that's kind of my statement.
I mean, if you call yourself a Georgia fan and you've never actually partaken of anything at Little Italy, are you actually a Georgia fan?
Right.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
The DawgFather
bringing heat.
throwing down the gauntlet.
He's gonna have a TikTok about Little Italy soon, I'm sure.
I may have to do that. You're giving me some ideas. That's gonna be one, maybe the first home game coming up.
Get some content. Yeah, exactly. I actually when I took my daughters to the Missouri game this past year, it was the first game that I'd been to in a while. With kids and soccer, it's just so hard for me to get up there. But I went to South Kitchen and Bar. That place is awesome. If you have never been there, it's like kind of right across the street from. I'm trying to think where. I think it's across the street. It's on East Washington. I think it's across from like not the Blind Pit, Boar's Head. It's over there, kind of near Boar's Head, I think. But yeah, that restaurant is awesome. I've been there a couple times since then. It's great. Which
is not too far from Blind Pig now, since it moved.
That's true. It is kind of down the street from Blind Pig now.
Yeah,
it's not a few steps from Waterford Place like it used to be when we would live there.
Oh man, those were fun times. For those of you that don't know, that's where Jim used to live early on in our college days. Was at Waterford Place, which is still actually there.
I don't know if you know this, John. Before, because this would have been before we met. Before that, I lived in Rivermill, which was literally across the street from Blind Pig, at the old location.
That's true. Yeah, Rivermill was right there too. I remember a bunch of kids lived there.
Yeah.
Man, talk about Blind Pig. That was a great joint back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
I tell you, I really used to enjoy the Blind Pig whenever we would have recruiting back when signing day was.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was such a good time. The one that's closed over there now that used to be off of. Y'all shake my memory. What street?
Oh shoot! I'm totally blanking. Yeah. Yes, yeah. I'm totally blanking. And I lived literally right there.
But the one time I can very, very vividly remember was the year that Crowell committed to us, and that place was so packed in there, and he held up the Dawg, and I mean the roof almost blew off the joint that night.
So I'm trying to remember. Wasn't it? Didn't 960 the ref used to basically host kind of like a recruiting day or a signing day thing at Blind Pig, right? Am I getting that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And this is me. Excuse me for my old man get off my lawn moment here. It happens, more and more lately. But with all the things changing, that's another thing. That I keep saying with realignment and playoff expansion, a lot of these things they sound cool. But it's kind of I now get worried about kind of a be careful what you wish for kind of thing. And I think the early signing day is a great example of that. It sounded to me like a great idea. Coach Rick he was always a big proponent of an early signing day. And so I was on board. And then now that it's happened, for me, it's just losing exactly what you're talking about, JT. We don't have now the big signing day is during the season and the February day is it just kind of comes and goes and it's an afterthought. It used to be such a big deal. And now there's too much other stuff going on for it to be as big of a deal as it used to be.
And if you've heard Kirby talk about it, and I'm sure that other coaches who are in the running for the college football playoff, I'm sure Saban will be behind this as too, but when you've got so much going on trying to get prepared for that first semifinal game, and then you have to try to get your first recruiting day or signing day out of the way, it just takes away. So, I understand exactly where Kirby's coming from on that, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings the least little bit to push it back to just February.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I if you saw me get distracted, I've been looking at Google Maps. So it was right off.
I was looking at Google Maps too.
Okay, so Baldwin Street is this.
It's Baldwin, yeah.
But it does dead end into Oconee. It's right there.
Yes.
Sorry.
There you go.
It was bothering me.
Feverishly researching on Google Maps. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even when I said Oconee, I was I know I'm wrong.
No, well, you're pretty dang close. I mean, it literally it dead ends into Oconee. So, there was a lot going on right there at that little corner. You had Blind Pig, you had Rivermill, you had what at one time you may have known it as I think it was O'Malley's. When we were there, JP, it was Dial America.
Yeah, I was going to say Dial America.
But at one point, it was a bar / gym or something. I think that's what O'Malley's was. I don't know. That was before my time. Right? That closed down right before I got there.
Man, that everything's changed so much since we were there. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's unrecognizable.
Yep.
Yeah. What else we got, Jim?
I was gonna say why don't we go into our listener questions because we got some, and then we can we can keep talking after we're done with that. But I do want to make sure we hit on those. You guys cool with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Right. Let's go.
Awesome. So first up from Zach SC Dog 864. First up, his question for the DawgFather: how many TikToks did you have uploaded in the drafts for that natty?
Yeah, I only had one, and I actually sent you guys the draft of that before we started tonight. And I started it prior to the game, and it was the sound where can we skip to the good part, right after? And I started filming right after it with the confetti falling. So I had that one saved in my drafts, but even after posting that one, I posted several more with just the celebration and all kinds of stuff. And I kept a few private that I would not put on TikTok at all. It may have been too good of a time because
that's because you were pre-gaming with Bobby Wilton. Like we know what happens.
Exactly. You're a partaker of the bourbons? You're a partaker of the bourbons, right?
Absolutely. I just had a birthday, and if you ask me how old I am, I'm just going to say old. But I was able to secure a couple of bottles that made me very happy. I know that Bobby loves the Weller, and so do I. And I'm not just Weller, but Blanton's. Blanton's is just like, I got a bottle of it. It's like a unicorn. I don't even know if it really exists, but it's just sitting there.
It definitely sits at the Hartsfield Jackson International Terminal in the duty free shop, just taunting you.
But it's so good.
We're big fans of Weller. We're big fans of Weller as well, which is actually fairly straightforward to get around these parts. Yeah. Not so much where Jim is.
Yeah, not me. Not at the ABC stores in North Carolina, but I do have some. That's what I have in my national championship decanter.
Awesome.
Is that what I call it? Am I using the right word? Do you call it
decanter?
It would be a decanter. Okay. Yeah, making sure I'm not getting my terms mixed up. Sorry. We'll definitely at a minimum tweet out. I say we tweet out, but we've got the video. We'll tweet that video out. That or the TikTok. See, I'm so bad at this. I've got to. You're gonna have to teach me. We'll send that out. And you know what? I will reshare from the My God podcast TikTok account, and we'll keep with the current theme of all of our content is reshares of the DawgFather until we get our confidence up to start posting our own TikToks. We got to figure out how to use that. And then Zach go ahead, John.
I was about to say that brings us to the next question.
Yeah. And do the My God podcast fellas use TikTok often? Sometimes. Georgia fan accounts are great if you can find them. I think we actually pretty much talked through that. So I said, let's see. So here's what we've covered. We have a My God podcast TikTok account now, but very minimal content. I am more of a lurker. I enjoy watching the content. And I'm pretty much on there for comedy. So JT, your stuff as the DawgFather is like right up my alley of kind of what I'm on TikTok for. Your account, Coach 30, is another great football account. And then
Coach 30 is so great.
I am now getting into funny golf TikTok. So Manolo teaches golf is a good one.
Manolo.
And then I'm forgetting one. There's one that's just basically if you stink at golf like I do, they make it funny. So some of those types of accounts. I don't know, John. You actually post a little bit on TikTok. I don't really post on it. I just kind of watch stuff.
No, I think I've only got one or reshares, and then I've got one post that I had made when I broke down and downloaded it because I was hearing so much about it through peers of mine. Mm-hmm. Because what was happening is that I was sharing Instagram videos to friends that had seen it already on TikTok. They're like, "You gotta get TikTok. This was cool on TikTok 2 weeks ago."
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. What's happening on Instagram was on TikTok already.
I'm pretty sure if you went to my profile right now, you'd probably see a ballerina show of my daughter. Where
I did see that.
I was goofing around with it. Yeah.
Okay. Because I think when I created the My God podcast TikTok last week, when we all started talking, I think, the first accounts that I followed from that account were, you two, and then I followed my own account, which hasn't posted anything. So I think, John, that's when I saw that.
Nice.
And we're following the official Georgia TikTok, so we'll expand that.
Yeah, I say that often or sometimes, probably less for us. But we're gonna try to remedy that. We may have some collaborations with the DawgFather if he can help us out on that one.
Well, I tell you what,
sure.
I can help you out as much as I can. But if we're going to the ATD tailgate, you can probably get a lot of good content there.
There we go. There we go. I love it.
But see, then we get into the "Are we okay posting this content?" discussion. Awesome. Okay, so this one I wasn't sure if we wanted to discuss this on the show or not, because I know JT, you answered this one on Twitter, and I feel like I need more background anyway, so this is why I bring it up.
You need some more background.
Yeah,
from
if you want to ask it, that's fine. I can give you a little background on what he's talking about here.
Okay, so B Dizzle UGA B Rad G. Who would win a street fight between the DawgFather and Willie?
And for those that don't know, Willie, that's not his account. It is it's Alabama account, and it is run by a guy named Chad Horn. Chad is a friend of mine on there that I have met, and but Willie is an absolute character. Now, to say that he has probably partaken in several cans of alcohol every evening is probably a I don't even know if that would be saying it right, but Willie is hilarious. And when I say hilarious, I could sit there and watch that content for hours and never get tired of it. But as far as a fight is concerned, Chad is a big guy. Now, I'm a bigger guy myself. But if I tried to fight Willie, I would be scared to death that Chad would handle me in a hot second. So there's no way I would ever take a swing at Willie. I'll take a swing at Brad, but not on Willie.
I love it. So Willie is basically the character that Chad has created. Am I getting that right?
And it's not a character. Willie is an actual person, and Chad is Chad's account, and he just films Willie doing different things.
Got it.
It's hard to explain unless you see him. Like I say, his name is Chad Horn, and if you search for him on Twitter, it'll pop up. But it's something that you would just sit there and watch it. I'm telling you, you're just going to have laughs for hours on end once you start watching.
So now, is this on? So this is on Twitter, not on TikTok?
It's on TikTok. It's on TikTok.
It's on both. Okay. I gotta check this out. Yeah, okay, because I was not familiar. See, these are the things we learned from the king of TikTok here.
But once you start watching it, you'll understand a little bit more about Brad's question. That he has. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Love it. All right. Next up. And so this one, so JT, one of the things we always joke a lot about is I get obsessed over like how to pronounce people's names. And so this guy, Brian, has submitted a question the last couple episodes, and I wasn't sure how to pronounce his name. And thank you, Brian, for sending me a pronunciation guide in his best Scott Howard impression. So I can now say that it's Brian Michelis is how you pronounce his name. So thank you, Brian. He said, if you guys could pick one player from the 2021 team who was drafted to come back and play in 2022, who would it be? And I'll say, JT, why don't you lead us off?
I would feel certain most people would probably point out Jordan Davis. And don't get me wrong, if Jordan wanted to come back for several years, I would be completely fine with that if he's got eligibility. But for me, just knowing,
it's a good choice.
Yeah, just knowing that he was the quarterback of that defense. Give me Nakobe all day long. Just knowing the leadership, the all the intangibles that he had. I feel like he's going to be one of those that is really missed this year. Not to say that there's going to be somebody to step in and not hold their own, but I would take Nakobe Dean all day.
Yeah, that's a great answer. JP, who do you got?
That was, I think I responded that this was going to be an easy answer for me.
Yeah.
Nakobe Dean is absolutely the answer for me. So, I like JT was thinking like, the easy answer here is Jordan Davis, but the you fit right in, JT. Like you're just right in step with us. But Nakobe Dean to me was be the easy answer there. And then if you like switched it up a little bit, my secondary answer, oh yeah, Nakobe Dean's a obvious, Jordan Davis obvious. Like who's a not obvious person that you would wish would come back? Darian Kendrick would be the other one for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually hadn't thought about him. That's a good one. Because with the COVID year, like anybody could have come back. All right, you guys ready for me to let you in on a secret? There's a shocking agreement on My God a Podcast. Nakobe Dean was who I was going to say. It's like my thought process was literally identical, but I was kind of like, well, maybe they'll say Jordan Davis, so I'm going to say Nakobe Dean was part of it. But he was a junior too. Like the other guys, it would have been like the whole like needing to use another extra COVID year. Man, and then when he was slipping in the draft, I kind of wish he did come back. Although I think he landed in a good spot. He'll be fine. If to throw something else out there, I wouldn't mind having George Pickens back for another year. Mm-hmm. Although talk about another guy who seems to be really flourishing outside of school and with the. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos that have been coming out of kind of leaking out of, I guess not leaking, it's public, but coming out of Steelers camp. I think he may have himself a season in the NFL. So I think he's in the right place, but wouldn't mind having him back.
Yeah, his practice film, like you say, has been incredible coming out of Steelers camp. And selfishly, knowing how banged up and hurt he was last year, getting one more healthy season out of George would be, if I didn't pick Nakobe, George would probably been pick number 2.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm really curious about this next one too, because you guys had slam dunks, I believe, from your replies on Twitter, and I didn't. I've had to think about this one a little bit. So, 51-7 GATA says, considering North Carolina is playing at App State and Georgia State this season, what is a group of 5 school you wouldn't mind seeing the Dogs travel to for a game?
Wow.
I'll let you go first, JT. Guess first.
I figure what the I don't know, the most popular answer here is going to be Hawaii. Why not go to Hawaii and have the vacation, et cetera, et cetera. But for me,
I didn't even think of that. That's actually a good one.
That was my answer. Oh my gosh, you fit in so well.
But seriously, for me, I'm taking UNLV. I mean, they're playing at Allegiant Stadium. They're playing at Allegiant Stadium out in Vegas where the Raiders play. So financially, and as far as being able to secure enough seats for the fan base, I mean, you're set up there. And if they want to do one of these situations where you get a 2-for-1, like 2 games in Athens, 1 out there, sign me up right now. Number one, because I just love Vegas. That's mine.
That's a good one, JP. I know you appreciate that. You're because your stance has been like we've had similar questions before, but I'm more like, where would you want to see a neutral game? I know Vegas has been has been high on your list for that.
Well, I don't know that's necessarily high on my personal list, but I know that it would be a very it would be almost like a Notre Dame situation, but for very different reasons. We would literally take over that entire city.
Yeah.
If that were to happen. That's kind of what I was thinking. But, for me personally, just a cool experience. And I'm going to shout out Logan Booker on this one, but Logan sent some pictures and I've seen some pictures from BYU. I don't really have any passionate connection with BYU or anything like that, but just being in the mountains, literally the stadium is right next to the mountains. And if you're in a seat high up in the stadium, your view is kind of going to Georgia Tech and seeing the skyline amongst the sea of red and black in the stadium. But you can see the skyline at certain vantage points, and that's kind of what I was thinking was that it'd just be cool to go to some place like that where you can watch college football and take in some beautiful scenery. And I know Dog Out West would probably also like to go to that game too, because it would be a relatively short commute, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure Graham would love that.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Logan because I believe the DawgFather calls into 960.
Yeah,
am I correct on that?
Yeah, Logan and David, those are my guys, man. I like to call in once a week if I can. It's been kind of slack here in the off season, but being able to talk to them and talk Georgia football and other things, yeah, they enjoy talking to them. They're friends of mine. So
I love that.
Have you hung out with those guys outside of record radio?
I have met up with them once before, and it was during the national championship celebration when they were broadcasting at the bookstore. Got to hang out with them for a little while.
That's awesome.
We haven't tailgated or anything like that, but yeah, it's always enjoyable to be around Logan and Dave. And guys, I forgot this a while ago. I forgot to mention, we're already playing an away game against a group of 5 every other year. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but we play Georgia Tech in Atlanta. I mean,
oh my gosh!
So we're already doing it.
That was incredible. Well played. Well played. So I kind of tipped mine because I for me, I live in North Carolina, so like I actually like App State actually would have been one of mine, but that was kind of brought up in the question. So that would be one. The hard thing for me is like the way college football works. And I know like every year you'll kind of look at the schedule and be like, man, why did this team schedule this game kind of thing? So it's like, what's a game that we could schedule where that wouldn't be the take? But I like your point of like maybe doing a 2-for-1 kind of thing. I think that makes it better. Yeah, Hawaii was my thought because just like trip to Hawaii, and I was gonna make a joke, but my joke wouldn't have worked because I did look it up and it wouldn't have been true. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, but like Alabama actually lost at Hawaii in like early 2000s in like 2003. So I think in general like they were on probation and they weren't going to be able to go to a bowl game, so they went and played at Hawaii.
Isn't that the stigma for any major college team to go out there is because they're in trouble?
Right. Yeah. So they went there 2 years in a row. My joke was going to be off the top of my head, like maybe we could do something that Alabama had never done and won at Hawaii, but they have won that. So they went there 2 years in a row. But I'm, full disclosure, I'll call myself out on not remembering that. But so, yeah, they went there 2 years in a row, 02 and 03, and they actually split the series.
Wow.
They were 1-1. It was one Dennis Francione 1 year and Shula was the second. But that was back when June Jones was at Hawaii. So it would be different now, I guess. They're not quite what they were when June Jones was there.
Speaking of, can we get a petition started to get Mike Shula back at Alabama?
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen a lot of like alternate history type things lately of like, what if this happened? Wasn't that was what someone gave
someone said someone said if someone went to Tebow, if Tebow went to Alabama, Mike Shula never leaves.
Yeah. Oh man, I like that. So that year that Alabama lost at Hawaii 03, that was like I remember because Alabama played at Georgia that year, and like I thought Brody Crowell was gonna like get killed. They kept trotting him back out there, and like Thomas Davis kept like just I don't know. It wasn't good. It wasn't good for Brody.
Yeah, if I remember that game correctly, it was Brody, and there was another quarterback sitting on the bench at the end. It's like they had matching arm slings on because they were getting pummeled.
Yeah. Crowell got knocked out of the game, and like they brought him back in, and it was crazy.
Good times.
Yes,
well,
sir.
That was it for the listener questions. So thanks for everyone who submitted. John, I was gonna say for you two things. One, I always like to ask if you have any meaning of life questions because sometimes you come up with those at the end. But the other one is in an avoidance of one of I had an idea, maybe something. Sometimes we'll hit the stop button, and then you hit the internet and something is trending, and you're like, we should have talked about this. So maybe do a.
Oh yeah.
So maybe
I haven't
maybe a quick
I haven't done
multitask
that.
and check if there's anything going on there. But then while you're doing that, I just want to say, for JT, aka the DawgFather, thank you for agreeing to come on. It's been a blast, and we have a lot to learn from you and your TikTok ways. We'll see if maybe we can get some of that there. But it's been a blast hearing your story, both just as a fan and then also just creating the content. It's been a lot of fun. So thanks for coming on.
Oh yeah, my pleasure, guys. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Well. Maybe we can do this thing again one time or several times or whatever we want to do. Listen, I enjoy the podcast. Look, you guys do a great job. So it's been fun. I appreciate it.
Oh man, from one content creator that does great things, that's just chef's kiss right there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, because to be honest, we're definitely fans of your work. So.
I appreciate it, guys.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty funny. A little inside baseball, kind of behind the scenes, when John, I think because he commented on your TikTok the other day last week, and then texted me, and I was like, oh, or maybe I just saw it. I can't remember, but I was like, ooh, good call, reaching out to the DawgFather. I was like,
yeah, absolutely.
I was like, oh no, I know what. Yeah, you tagged me. You tagged my TikTok in a comment on the DawgFather TikTok. That's what it was. And so then we started texting about it. So, yeah, man. And then things happened fast. You were very gracious, and we've been more inside baseball. We've kind of been talking all week. So it's been fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun, even leading up to this.
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed all the back and forth, the text, all that stuff. It's been a lot of fun, guys. Like I say, I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Clemson and Tennessee are trending right now, but nothing noted. Although Alabama apparently lost a legacy to Tennessee today.
Interesting.
Tennessee was trending as well. So
okay,
those are the trending updates. That and Yellowstone, which I love Yellowstone.
There's probably some good Yellowstone voiceover TikTok content, I would assume.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some good Yellowstone stuff. I remember I think I had an idea for Yellowstone TikTok when Justice Haynes committed to Bama, right? Yeah. So when he committed to Bama, I was like, oh, you need to get that Kevin Costner clip up there with the DawgFather. Like, we're enemies now.
Yeah, if I could find a clip of Rip and taking somebody to the train station, I might could work that in somewhere.
Awesome.
That train only runs in one direction.
Too good. All right. Well, JT, it's been great to have you. And I'll say, I guess, just kind of quick programming note. I think we may actually be back on a weekly schedule now, leading up to the season. We'll let folks know if that changes. But fall camp starts Thursday of this week, so next week we may have actual things coming out of camp to talk about, which is pretty crazy. It's crazy how fast it's gotten here. So looking forward to that.
Over under number of hopefuls we're going to hear in the next few weeks.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We should, I think we may have, Kirby, preseason press conference type stuff to talk about next time.
We didn't talk about his outlook for the season. What do you got for the season, DawgFather?
When you look at the schedule, it's very favorable in my opinion. It's tough to say that we'll be as dominant as we were last year on defense. I am very hopeful of the offensive starters we have coming back. I don't want to be a naysayer or a Munson. There's never been a team to repeat.
We embrace it.
Never been a team to repeat as far as national champion in the college football playoff era. So I say, hey, let's be the first one to do it.
Heck yeah, dude. Let's get there before Bama does, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I totally agree. But, we've got more defense coming back this year than we did last year. We were all freaking out about the defense last year, but that worked out pretty good for us.
Yeah, I have this suspicion that last year, rewind a year, we were all talking about the offense a year ago, and then what trots out, but arguably the best defense ever in college football. I mean, definitely top 5, but I think you could argue they're the best ever, and so we'll see. I think the defense. I mean, even if it does take a step back, that defense could take a step back and still be pretty dang good, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, seriously. Year 3 under Monken. Looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Definitely fun, and we need to stay in touch and see if we can maybe we can connect in Atlanta or Athens at some point too. But
yeah,
Atlanta's
we can do both. Absolutely,
the first thing. Awesome, cool. All right. Well, yeah, it's been a blast. Let's do this again, and we will be back. I think next week.
Sounds good. Again, I appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, always love it. Let's hit them up with where they can find them on TikTok and Twitter.
Yeah, so everywhere I believe that the_Dawg_Father, right?
Absolutely, both accounts, both Twitter and TikTok, same username.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, man. Everybody go check them out, and we'll be back. We'll be back soon. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.